Hi everybody. Sorry I've not made a video in a while. Been ripping out the inside of this hut to try and give myself more space as I've filled it to the brim with crap that I'll never get around to finishing. But another story. Picked up a couple of axes off Facebook Marketplace, give myself a wee challenge. Most of the axes I usually work with are usually pre-50s, most likely 40s. Some of them will get stamps, some of them don't. It's kind of really hard to tell, just kind of got to tell by how good the metal is. But what I did with these ones is they're just, the guy who's selling them was a pair. So got a wee hatchet. They look alright. I mean, they're probably nicer the cheaper end ones. Been knackered and abused, but what I'll probably do is take the handles off the heads of these and then get them cleaned properly. As you can see, somebody absolutely went to town on the back of this with a hammer at some point trying to split shit. Don't do that. Nothing, you should never be hitting it wet and harder than it is. But besides that, then, what I'm going to do with these is probably give myself a bit of a different challenge. So I usually like to leave them looking all aged. But with this one, what I'm going to do, I think, you can see how I've started on the big one. So this is the handle for the big one. Took it off. Someone had made a bodge repair trying to fix the fact that the wedge had come out, so they put fucking some sort of bolt in this to try and hold it in. It pops clean out. So what I'll probably do is just maybe make a wedge to fill that gap, or cut it down slightly and just bring the handle back down a wee bit, or the head down on the handle a wee bit more to kind of clean it up. But with the actual head, you can see just pretty much the same shape. I've already done a rough grind to straighten the top of this out, as it was fucking wobbly as shit. Don't know if you've been hitting nails or whatever with it, but it's not all cleaned up now. What I'm going to do is I've left this side to show you, and I've done a start on the other. So, as I said, most of the ones I'm usually working with are quite old, but this one, I don't think, it's probably just maybe 10-year-old max. But with this one, what I've done is I've tried to do a kind of mirror finish on the back. So this has really just been sandpaper. I do have a polisher, so I'll see if I can try and get the last couple of bits out. There's a few indentations that I would have to take it right the way down to kind of clean out, and some of the bits were rusted more on this side, so I was kind of eating away at it. But what I'll do is I'll show you obviously that side now being super smooth. You can see the sort of the edge come back up on that now that it's all kind of flattened off. Yeah. And then what I'll do with this one is I'll do a wee bit of a video on how I do this one. So starting from 80 grit sandpaper right up the way up to 2000, and then I'll set up the polisher and I'll see what I can do with that. Alright. So I thought after the first go round with the 80 grit sandpaper, I would show you just what we're working with. So all of those are all surface indentations and scratches, and just obviously where the paper's just not hitting at all. So what I'll do is, now that I know how deep those go, I'll take it over to the belt sander, and I know once they that sort of pitting's gone, then I know I can kind of come back with the sander again and just get it back down to a mirror. So one thing you always want to make sure you're doing when you're doing this, especially working with something that's got a tempered edge, make sure you don't let it get too hot. So every now and again what I'll do is, I've got a bucket of water here, I'll just dip it in to try and bring the temperature back down. But yeah, let's get stuck back in. Well, many hours after a anticipated finishing, but finally got there. Um, in the end, it turned out pretty class. It did take probably 5 hours longer than I expected it to. You can see why people do not do polished axes all the time, and this will probably be one of the few that I do. But in the whole, I think it turned out pretty class. Did end up going down to 2000 grit on every surface. You can see in the back there, took all the hammer marks out of the back of this one. Came up nice. Again, back down to razor shaven sharp. No really any complaints. It's no the sort of axe I'm used to working with. And it was a bit of a challenge just picking something up for Facebook Marketplace and seeing what I can do to kind of turn it around. All in all though, it was never a cheap axe, but now it looks 100 times better. Handle as well, handle is nothing to write home about, but having taken the size of the head off and then at least another inch, it's still easy to use. It doesn't feel like I've taken anything away from it by taking that little bit off. If anything, to be honest, it's actually a little easier to kind of get a full swing on, and it kind of locates a bit better so your hand's not slipping right the way up into it, because that was quite a large travel. Thinking obviously there's a width this head again and up, but all in all, I think for what it was, it's now turned out pretty class. Don't usually pretty greedy and end up holding on to every axe I turn out, but this one I'm maybe open to get rid of, so if anyone is interested in it, let us know. Just shoot us a message. Thanks very much for watching.